Sometimes the loudest city in the world can make you hear the quietest parts of yourself. My name is Amina Clark. I'm 35 years old, and I have spent most of my adult life in boardrooms, airports, and the impossible rhythm of Dubai's financial world. But none of that really explains who I am. Who I am took me a very long time to meet. Look, my childhood was ordinary in the way a lot of modern childhoods are. I grew up in a small suburb in the UK, and I grew up between two belief systems that never fully settled. My mother was a soft-hearted Christian who prayed quietly, like she didn't want to disturb anyone. My father was an atheist, who treated life like a mathematical equation. So I grew up hovering between those two worlds, faith and logic, prayer and silence, feeling like I didn't belong completely to either. I remember being 8 years old and lying on the carpet of my room, staring at the ceiling and asking myself questions that felt too big for my age. Who created all of this? Who created me? Why do I feel things so deeply? Why do I feel watched, even when I'm alone? I didn't have language for it then. I just knew I sensed something. But as I grew older, school and life taught me to ignore that voice. The world rewards the loud, the productive, the confident. So, I built myself into what the world applauded. I became sharp, educated, capable, efficient. I learned how to walk into a room full of men in suits and speak their language fluently. I became good at survival. I became excellent at pretending. To be honest, something inside me started breaking long before I ever admitted it. People see Dubai, and they imagine this perfect life. Skyscrapers, rooftop dinners, the hum of ambition everywhere you turn. And yes, I lived that life. I had a good salary, my own apartment, a lifestyle my younger self would have been proud of. But I also had an emptiness that followed me from meeting to meeting, like a shadow only I could see. Every morning, I woke up to emails on my phone, the glow of the screen replacing any real sense of purpose. I worked 12, sometimes 14 hours a day. I convinced myself that exhaustion was normal. I convinced myself that success meant sacrificing the softer parts of who I was. But look, the truth is harsher. I was lonely, deeply lonely, even in rooms full of people. I felt like I was constantly performing, smiling when I felt like crying, competing when I just wanted to rest, pretending I was fulfilled because admitting I wasn't felt like failure. There were nights I would come home, kick off my heels, sit on the floor of my living room, and just stare into the quiet. It was in that silence that I realized I didn't know myself anymore. This is where everything changed for me. One evening, after a long day, I stepped outside my office building, just after Maghrib. I could hear the adhan echoing between the glass towers. I don't know why, but that sound froze me. I had heard it 1,000 times before, but this time it felt different. This time, the adhan didn't sound like a call to prayer. It sounded like a call to me. And the strangest part is, I felt calm, not inspired, not emotional, just calm, as if something inside me whispered, "Pay attention." I started noticing Muslims around me differently. Their discipline, their peace, the way they paused the world to bow. Imagine that. People in a city like Dubai, with all its speed and noise, willingly stopping everything, just to reconnect with God. I didn't know why, but it moved me. It made me wonder what they felt that I didn't. I didn't run toward Islam. I walked slowly, cautiously, almost afraid someone would see the curiosity in my eyes. I started reading late at night, articles, books, translations of the Qur'an. The first thing that struck me was how direct the Qur'an felt. No poetry meant to impress, no philosophy meant to confuse, just truth, spoken as if the one speaking knew me better than I knew myself. And he did. There was one verse I read that stopped me completely. Verily, in the remembrance of Allah, do hearts find rest. I remember whispering out loud, is that what I've been missing? Rest? I didn't tell anyone what I was researching. I didn't want opinions. I wanted sincerity, my own sincerity. After months of reading secretly, I decided to visit a mosque. I walked into the women's section quietly, heart racing, palms sweating, and yet I felt safe, completely safe. A woman smiled at me, and I think that smile changed my life. She didn't lecture me. She didn't interrogate me. She simply asked, would you like to sit? Her kindness felt like an embrace. I didn't know I needed. I attended a few classes. I asked questions. I cried a lot in those weeks. Not out of sadness, but relief. Like my soul had been thirsty for 35 years, and suddenly water was in front of me. The day I took my Shahada, it wasn't planned. I was sitting with one of the teachers after class, asking yet another question about faith, and she gently said, you already believe all of this. What is holding you back from saying it? I didn't have an answer, and that realization broke me. So I whispered the words, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah, wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan, Rasul Allah. I felt something leave me, and something enter me, a weight and a light. It was like my soul exhaled for the first time. Life after Islam did not unfold like a movie moment, where everything suddenly becomes perfect. It was quieter, slower, and far more intimate than that. In the beginning, it felt like I had stepped into a new version of myself, one that had been waiting behind a locked door for years. The first change surprised me. I woke up with purpose, real purpose. Not the artificial adrenaline that used to push me into my day, but something softer, steadier. Fajr became an anchor. Standing before God in the stillness of dawn, felt like the world had paused so my heart could breathe. I used to chase mornings. Now, mornings were guiding me. At work, I felt myself rearranging internally. I no longer needed to fill silence with small talk. I no longer felt the pressure to play the part of the strong career woman who carried everything alone. I could be kind without feeling weak. I could be firm without losing myself. I was finally allowed to be whole. Look, the challenges didn't disappear. Some colleagues treated me differently. Some whispered assumptions. Some asked strange questions. But none of it moved me the way it once would have. Islam gave me a center, a place to return to whenever the world felt heavy. And my evenings changed too. I used to fill the nights with distractions. Scrolling, working late, anything to outrun my own mind. But now, I found comfort in sitting with myself, reading Qur'an, reflecting, whispering prayers that felt like letters finally being delivered to the right address. I didn't become perfect. I became sincere, and that sincerity shifted everything. If you're listening to this and you feel lost, if you feel like something inside you is calling, but you don't have words for it yet, look, don't ignore it. Silence is often the language of your soul, and your soul remembers what your mind has forgotten. Ask yourself why you're restless. Ask yourself where your peace goes every night. Ask yourself what you're chasing, and whether it ever truly satisfies you. Be honest, be gentle, and be brave enough to seek God even if it scares you. You don't have to rush, you don't have to perform. Just take one sincere step. God will meet you with 10. So, this is me, a 35-year-old woman who spent half her life in boardrooms and contracts, and found her heart on a prayer mat. And if my story tells you anything, let it be this. You can rebuild your life at any moment. You can come home to yourself, even after years of being lost. And God was never far from you, not for a single heartbeat.